What's up, everyone? It's Scotty with Money Vesting. Tomorrow is the big showdown. We've got the March inflation numbers coming out. I will be live to cover that report. And as expected, the market's really flat, didn't really move at all. It was a very uneventful, boring / low volume day with the S&P 500 literally flat on the day. And we got the NASDAQ here, which was slightly lower, down about 43 basis points on the day. So as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us for the first time. The link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below. I did share the trade ideas with all the members. So this right here is the video that you can access once you're part of our Patreon. So that's going to be 4 trading ideas, including some trading education and analysis for you. So you can access these videos for as part of your Money Vesting community memberships. The link's going to be down below if you're interested in joining. And I've opened up that 16% annual discount once again till the end of this month. So that's going to be available for you to take advantage of. So these are the earnings. We do have bank earnings starting later this week. So JP Morgan, United Health, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, PNC, BlackRock, all these companies are reporting at the end of this week. But the big surprise and the big event for tomorrow is going to be inflation. Of course, CPI numbers come out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, and the consensus month over month is 0.3%. For headline, for core, it's 0.4%, and for year over year at 5.2% headline, and core sitting at 5.6%, which is going to be higher than the actual headline CPI. All on the back of shelters, so all eyes and ears are going to be on rents and how shelter prices are actually doing. I'm going to be doing a specific, more dedicated video on inflation and what to expect going into tomorrow. I've already done a couple of them, but I'll update you guys with some more analysis and the most up-to-date information going into tomorrow as well. So Warren Buffett is also investing in Japan, and how to know if you should too. So there was a catalyst that came out. I read about it earlier today, going over how he is investing in some of the trading houses in Japan more and more. And he also mentioned that he plans to invest more in Japan and Japanese companies. This was an interview with Nikkei, and I think his exposure in Japan has increased from about 5% to over 7%. So it's still not a significant portion of his portfolio, but I think he's mentioned that he's going to be investing more in that country. We'll talk about that in more detail in another video. So this was the market. Amazon here selling off, Microsoft pulling back. If you guys know Microsoft, we do have a trade idea on that one. So again, you can access the video and our Discord for more details. But financials here pushing higher. We had healthcare stocks pushing up, industrials, energies once again pushing up as oil prices are now starting to break to the upside. They're back over $81 a barrel, and we're starting to see a little bit of move back higher. And I've already mentioned about oil, and if it gets up to almost $100 a barrel, that's not going to be good news for inflation in the upcoming months. Something to definitely pay attention to, as inflation is or can be very stubborn in the future. So Nvidia pulling back, good for us. AMD here down, Google down, Meta down, Apple down. Tesla was slightly higher, 1.2%, but more or less it was a very mixed day with certain stocks. So Dow Jones definitely outperforming here on the day. So Dow pushing up a little bit over 29 basis points with respect to the NASDAQ selling off intraday. I also closed out on my trades on TMF with a decent profit, and FAS was doing really well. So FAS was one of the stocks that actually outperformed on the day, up a little bit over 2.67%. This was also part of our trade idea and continues to push up. And I did trim some of my position in FAS and will continue to monitor the remainder with a nice trailing stop loss. And if it continues to push up to $60, $65, $70, we'll be looking to exit the rest of the position there. But a very nice move and an outperformance on FAS on the day today. So moving forward, this again was the entire state of the market. Big tech really pulling back, other sectors compensating for it. Basic materials pushing up, energy, financial, industrials, all green, with technology and comm services, some of the big tech and semis selling off. I did a video on semiconductors as well earlier today. Utilities, healthcare is pushing higher over the last 1 week, and we had consumer cyclicals, industrial, and technology pulling back. However, in the last 1 month, all 11 sectors in the S&P 500 are green. Every single sector, every one of them is pushing higher. Coffee prices, sugar prices, orange juice, natural gas, silver, all pushing up, with the lean hogs pulling back, and Bitcoin settling in at 30,000 right now, with Ethereum just a little bit under $1,900. So tomorrow, Like I said, inflation is what's really going to drive the market. Today, there was not a lot of movement intraday because, well, markets are anticipating or expecting and waiting for that inflation print. And that's one of the reasons why you don't necessarily see a lot of momentum, a lot of intraday activity for the markets. And that's very normal for us to see. But tomorrow, you better believe it, it's going to be quite interesting as soon as those numbers print at 8:30 a.m. Eastern and the market's reaction and the Fed funds futures also flipping back and forth with the May meeting coming up in just under 25 days now. Volatility on the day was slightly flat, up over 79 basis points, closing in at just over 19. And crude oil we've already gone over, starting to see a little bit of a breakout to the upside, past $80 a barrel. With these supply cuts, it's only going to make the situation slightly worse. And we're going to keep a close eye on crude oil, of course. Again, go and watch those videos that I've already put out. And Bitcoin here continues to charge higher, seeing a bit of a pullback. This right here was the ascending triangle within which we were expecting the Bitcoin for it to break out. And the next target is going to be 32,000. And you'll notice a lot of crypto stocks pushed up pretty substantially. Riot, CleanSpark, Mara, all up double digits. Coinbase up 6%. We had Grayscale Bitcoin Trust up 3.3. So a lot of momentum coming in for a lot of these individual names, of course, on the back of Bitcoin. Now going over to the S&P 500, and S&P once again struggling at that resistance. We're seeing a bit of a doji candle, so lots of indecision. The volume has really come down for S&P 500. We're not really seeing a lot of momentum, but this is the bear camp, so to speak, right? So if I need to kind of even write it out, I should, right? So I should put down at least something on there so we know that there's a lot of bears sitting at those prices. So this right here is considered as a bear camp for the market because we have previously gone rejected once, twice, 3 times, 4 times at these levels. Somewhere between 41 and 4,200 is going to be some of those levels to watch. But in case we break to the upside, that is going to be extremely bullish from a technical standpoint for the market. But for now, we're kind of settling in. That's the resistance. That's where we are getting tapped out at. There's a lot of supply sitting right here, aka the bear camp for the market. The Nasdaq in a very similar situation. So this is going to be that bear camp for the Nasdaq, sitting somewhere between 12,000 to as much as 12,300. We have gotten rejected here not once, not twice, but 3 times in the past. In fact, 4 times if you count this instance in February and March. And you can see that we're already starting to come down a little bit. We're consolidating sideways. And on the day, once again, we are lower. So I'm just going to steal this and this. And we are going to put it on the Nasdaq as well, just so we have a good understanding on these things here. So, okay, there's the bear and there's the bear camp. So that's going to be the level to watch on the Nasdaq as well. If you push past that level, then the next resistance is going to be all the way up to 13,000 points. Again, that's going to put us, into a potential bull market on a technical bull market, considering that we would be making some higher highs and higher lows, and we'll be kind of facing up this previous resistance from back in August before we had the Jackson Hole meeting in Wyoming from Chairman Jerome Powell, which absolutely rattled the market and ended up selling off another 22%. So that's going to be the next level in case we get a breakout past this big bear camp. Next up, we've got Apple, and Apple here now starting to pull back a little bit, down 76 basis points. So the RSI MACD doesn't look super good. I do expect Apple to come down to 158. That's going to be the level to pay attention to here. That's a more intermediate support. And if you do see a breakdown below this level, then of course, Apple is going to be in a lot more trouble than what we've seen before, potentially even down to as low as $138, $140. So those right there are going to be some levels to watch for Apple moving forward. Support level intermediate at close to 158. Resistance is going to be all the way up to $177 per share for Apple. Talking about Amazon, Amazon here is down a little bit over 2.2%, so selling off quite a bit. Not surprising considering that it was getting up to that resistance at 104. We talked about that area of consolidation, that range-bound pattern for Amazon just trading sideways, and this is the exact lower high where we are getting rejected and, of course, tapping onto that resistance for the time being, and right now we're starting to pull right back down. So, again, we'll find out what inflation numbers look like and how the markets react, Amazon included. And the next support really is going to be low 80s with the resistance staying put at roughly at 104. Talking about Tesla here, and Tesla getting a bit of a push higher, 1.2% on the green here, past $186. Resistance is going to stay put all the way up to this level. So that's the range within which Tesla's been trading at, somewhere between 170s to as much as 220s. And that $40-$50 range is within what Tesla's been trading, consolidating sideways at the moment. So we're seeing a little bit of a move back higher, but again, a lot of it will ride on the inflation numbers, and not to mention the earnings coming out on April 19th for Tesla for the first quarter 23. And the big questions are going to be the margins, are they stable, and the earnings, are they growing? So those are the big questions. If Tesla can report some good numbers, and of course I have no doubt then Tesla can actually break past 220, 225. But if margins compress, if there's some shaky ground for Tesla in terms of price cuts and increasing volume, but at the expense of lower margins, I'm not going to be super confident in the short-term price action for Tesla post-earnings. Next up, we've got NVIDIA. And NVIDIA here now starting to pull right back down, getting down to 1.5%, red, 271. But resistance is going to stay put at 292, 291. So this right here is the level that we are paying attention to for NVIDIA at the moment. Incredibly overbought. I don't have to mention it again and again, but that is where we are with the technicals. And of course, resistance is going to stay put at 291, 292, with some intermediate support levels sitting down to 210. That's going to be in line with this sort of level right here, where we have previously supported ourselves. So NVIDIA kind of validated that level back in March of last year, January of last year, got a bounce back higher. So that's going to be a more intermediate, more near-term support for NVIDIA. Talking about advanced micro devices, and AMD here dropping about 1.5%, so seeing a little bit of momentum lower. We've already talked about it. Again, I did a video on the SMH and went over AMD very briefly, but resistance is going to be staying put at $102, $103, and the next support really is going to be down to as low as $78, $79 per share. So this right here is going to be that higher low for advanced micro devices. So we've still been in the context of this higher highs and higher lows, still in that uptrend, but we haven't really come down to fill this gap down to $78, $79. That's the higher low for advanced micro devices. Talking a little bit about PayPal. Now, PayPal and Venmo have partnered with Visa. So that was a big news to launch Visa Plus service. And PayPal was up 2.5% pre-market, but all those gains were kind of wiped out when it started to sell off from $76 down to as low as 73.50s, down about 4% intraday. So we're still consolidating sideways. There's still not a lot of momentum for PayPal. Even though the volume was higher, we still are consolidating sideways. Not a lot of directional move from PayPal at the moment. But I do think that this partnership with Visa is going to be pretty lucrative for PayPal over the long term. It's more beneficial to PayPal than it is to Visa. Let's just put it that way. Talking about Square, and Square here flat on the day, not really moving much, only up about 9 basis points. Support level is going to stay put somewhere around $58, $59. So this right here is going to be that level to watch, with the resistance, of course, sitting at this lower high. That's going to be in line with this level at $71.50 to as much as $72, all the way up to $83, $89 per share, kind of in line with that red rectangle that we have on the chart. Talking a little bit about Meta platforms, and Meta here on the day was slightly lower, about 0.4%. RSI, MACD are overbought, so it's not a surprise that we're now starting to see some slowdown in the momentum for these companies. So Meta is going to stay put at $222 as a resistance. So this right here is going to be that level to watch, and support level is going to stay put roughly around $199 to $200 per share for Meta. So that's going to be that support. Resistance there at 220. And of course, we got an overbought RSI MACD. Earnings are coming up pretty soon on April 26th, so later this month. Should be pretty exciting what they have to announce. Next up, we've got Netflix, and Netflix here on the day was slightly down as well, 0.23%. This is the higher low on a more intermediate basis, and resistance is going to stay up at roughly $370s to $380. So those right there are going to be some levels to pay attention to. Netflix, again, continues to trade at a little bit of a more expensive valuation, so I'm not super interested in this company just yet. But of course, at lower prices, we're talking like 200s, low 200s, I would be a lot more interested from a more long-term perspective on this company as well, especially when you consider that they are going to be launching an ad-supported tier. So that's going to be additional revenue for the company at minimal cost. So the margins are going to stay steady, and the revenue growth is going to accelerate, in my opinion, to the upside for Netflix. So support level is going to stay put at 275, 276, and resistance is going to be all the way up to 370s for Netflix. Talking about Google, and Google here, down 78 basis points, so not really seeing a lot of momentum, but resistance is going to stay put roughly at $108, $109. Support level is going to stay put at 101. So that right there is going to be that level to watch for Google. Right now we are seeing a little bit of an overbought condition, overbought situation. So RSI here, $65, and MACD also pretty overbought here. So if you start to see pullback, I wouldn't be surprised to see low 100s for Google moving forward. Shopify on the day was down about 1.26%. So again, consolidating sideways, not really seeing a lot of momentum higher or lower. Support level is going to stay put at $41, $42 per share. We got a gap to potentially fill here for Shopify, which is going to be somewhere between $48 to as much as $50 per share. Valuation is a little too high still, so it's not on my long-term buy list, but definitely a tradable stock if and when it drops down to low 30s. Or even $29, that's going to be a potentially good swing trade for Shopify at those prices. Microsoft, I'm going to go over on this different chart here because I do still have the trade idea stuff on there. So let's just go over it here. Microsoft 2.2% down. We've already talked about how there is a resistance at close to $294, $292. Again, the RSI and MACD are a little bit on the overbought side, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a pullback on Shopify moving forward, considering the overbought conditions. On a more technical basis, valuation still pretty elevated. We do have the earnings again coming out at the towards the end of April, so a lot of big tech companies reporting, and of course a lot of the moves will be dictated by what inflation ends up doing tomorrow. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and a complete update on the markets. Tomorrow is the big day. Like I said, it's the big inflation day for the markets. It's always exciting to see how the markets react to the inflation print and how the Fed funds futures change during that report. So I'll be live to cover that, and make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget the link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us. I did share the trade ideas, did share a lot of other updates and wheel strategy and everything that's included in the member benefits. Link's going to be down below with a 16% annual discount that has just started today till the end of this month. It's going to be valid. So as always, happy investing, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.